Give me 1 second.
There was no warning that you were going live. Hello, everyone on live. I'm not sure if we're on YouTube or if we're on Facebook. If it's Commercial Multifamily Masterminds or if it's GOV Network. But hello, I am Alicia Milton. We are here for our capital raise strategy call. And we are just so excited to start early to welcome you all in. Please join us. I'm pretty sure many of you have gotten the email from Daryl. Just tap that link, register for the call, and patch right on in. We look forward to having you.
Like that. So coolly.
I'm gonna call Arita. Arita, I miss you. Come on back to our calls. Sonia, if you're online, patch right into a capital raising strategy session. If you all didn't know, we are having Randy Smith this morning, and it is going to be an excellent call. Randy Smith is with Impact Equity. And guess what? We just talked about Randy, and he is patching in right now. So I'm super excited. Randy, we got your name all updated. There you go.
All right.
How
are you today?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Thank you. We are actually live on Facebook right now.
Awesome. Fun.
Just waiting for our folks to come in because, Zoom has afforded us to people come in at a minute to go to the meeting. So that's
okay.
When they start
awesome.
In. How's everything going for you today?
Oh goodness, it is always busy. Yeah, absolutely. So it's going very good. Yeah, blessed to be here. So
wonderful. I feel like I only see you online, right?
I know. There's a lot of that, isn't it? Yes. And the opportunity to meet in person last time, and I think you were sick that day.
I was. I actually had COVID.
Oh no! How long? How was that?
It was terrible.
Was it?
Did not enjoy the experience at all. My body enjoyed sleeping a lot.
Okay.
But as you can hear from my voice, I'm still trying to get that back and the energy. But what did come out of it that is good is I just got clarity of direction, clarity of, where I want to go in my business and things that I want to see have happen. So, hey,
awesome.
With the bad, you get the good.
Everything happens for a reason, right?
It does. Hello, Dennis. How are you this morning or afternoon?
Oh, wait. Hello?
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm driving. That's why I'm not on video.
Okay, that's excellent. Just listen in and drive.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Let's see. So are you joining in? Oh, wait, what is this popping up? Oh, that's my phantom asking to join the other call. Wonderful. Hello, Thurman. Hello, Gary.
Hey, Daryl.
Hello.
Hello, Anna and Alessandra.
All right. So this is a national group, right? All across the country? Okay.
Yes. So Alessandra's in Chicago. Anna right now is in New York. Thurman, are you in New York or New Jersey? Where are you? I think he's still trying to connect maybe with the audio.
There it is. Yeah, it looks like there's a few coming in. Well, no audio. Yeah, it looks like it.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. But we do, so part of our network, we have folks in Washington, Arizona, Texas, Florida, the MVD area.
Okay.
So
MVD, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware.
yes.
Got it. Okay.
So lots of Midwest folks, New Jersey. So right now, Daryl's in Texas. He's at one of our investment properties, and but lives in New Jersey.
Got it.
We normally have Marcus on. I believe he's in New Jersey as well. We do have a number of Florida people as a part of our network, New York, and along the East Coast.
So, and how many members are in the group? I know the
Over-
Slack channel is very busy. Yeah.
It is. It's over 1,600.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
So some are, some have the opportunity to come on midday, and others will watch it towards the evening time when they get off of their either W-2 jobs or their entrepreneurial jobs.
Very good.
Hi, Rob and JR.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So what part of the country are you joining us from, Rob?
I'm in Rockford, Illinois, about an hour and a half west of Chicago.
Wonderful. And JR, where are you joining us?
Sunny San Diego.
Sunny San Diego. Beautiful.
Yes.
Although it's not sunny, it's kind of gloomy.
Is it? Well, wonderful. It is at the top of the hour, and I know that we have Randy for about 35, 40 minutes here. So we want to make sure that we start on time. Randy, you should be able to share your presentation if you'd like to do that. And I would love for us to get started by Randy sharing a little bit about him.
All right. Very good. So you want me to just jump into the presentation, or do you want me to do kind of just a quick intro?
Yes, quick intro. Right before you hopped on, I did very quick one, but you were hopping in, so.
Got it. And do we record these or is this just Facebook?
It's being recorded, yes.
Outstanding. Yeah. So I'll jump through to the slide here. So here is kind of my bio. I spent 25 years in corporate America in various sales and sales leadership roles. Really, I did 2 10-year stints, one with a large Fortune 200 financial services organization, and then I got laid off. And then I spent my last 10 years in a financial services position as well in sales, and got laid off from that one in June of last year. And kind of the big difference was between the two. When I got laid off the last time, I had passive income from all of my real estate holdings and sold a bunch of single families. So that was a blessing in disguise. So I'm a very heavy passive investor. I'm in 24 deals across 10 operators and 8 asset classes. I launched Impact Equity, which is a capital allocation organization where I help to educate and inspire passive investors. We placed about $6 million in the last 15 months. And I am the co-host of the Gentle Art of Crushing It Passive Investing Edition podcast. And I've been on just a ton of podcasts in the last year as well as a guest. So that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I met Randy. He's here in Arizona with us, and I was just really impressed by what he's been able to accomplish, his attitude towards investing and collaboration was very inspiring. And so that's the reason why he's here on this call. We've been talking about capital raising strategies, and he's used several, and you'll learn some throughout his presentation. So thank you so much for sharing about yourself. Randy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm wondering too, just because it looks like I think we've got 12 people on the Zoom channel. I can't see how many are on Facebook, but is the majority of the audience, are they folks that do raise capital, have raised capital, or just looking to get into this space? I'm just curious.
It's a mixture. We have some very experienced capital raisers. I believe the majority on this call, correct me if I'm wrong, if you are a newer capital raiser, please drop a 1 in the chat. That way we can see. And for the experienced capital raisers, drop a 2 in the chat.
Awesome. So JR and Rob are newer, it looks like. Okay, cool. Alessandra as well. Dennis, Evan has got some experience. Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Steve is a 1.2. That's interesting. Awesome.
So that sounds like he may have capital raised before and could use a little training. Just one quick reset of the room. We see someone in here with AA. Please unmute yourself and let us know who you are.
Sure, my name's Anthony Amico.
Hey, Anthony.
Hey,
Amika, is that
yeah,
what you
Amico, and actually I'm in Scottsdale right now.
Oh,
Awesome.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Amika.
I go to church by where you are, Randy, in El Mirage.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I'm in Peoria, just below the Arrowhead Mall. Yeah, very
Exactly.
cool.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Well, very good.
No, it's
Awesome. So, Randy, how would you like to go about this? Would you like to review your presentation and share
Sure.
more? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just kind of jump in. I'll kind of reset here. So I do got to give the disclosure slide. I'm sure you guys already do that, but I'm not a CPA or financial advisor. I'm not giving any advice. I'm just going to share with you guys my experience and what I've done. Certainly no representation as to what you could do, even though I do think anybody can raise capital, but it's important to have that just to protect ourselves from a legal standpoint. Okay, so basically what I'm going to walk through, guys, and let me go back here a little bit, is I'm going to, I already reviewed my bio. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got into real estate investing, some of my first investments in single family, how I moved over to passive investing, and then ultimately just a real brief summary of what I've done in the last 15 months in the capital raising space. And then finally, I'm going to give a very, very condensed, simple 5-step process on how to get started in capital raising. And again, I am not an expert. This is just what I've done. I will share, though, at the beginning of this, I am going to share an appendix slide at the end, which is all of the tools and resources that I've used to do this in the last 15 months. So I'm an open book. Anything I'm doing, I'm more than happy to talk about, and we'll share that with you transparently. Okay. All right. So yeah, so I kind of took a little bit different route. I know there's a lot of folks that get into real estate investing because they want to make a ton of money and get out of debt and clean up their financial house. I was a little bit different. My dad actually owned apartments in LA back in the 80s. So he did that after he had already kind of established himself financially. And that was a similar path that I went down to. I was very, very fortunate because I was in a high income earning W-2 sales role for a lot of years. So my goal in getting into this initially was not to create a bunch of income, at least on the front. It was more so to create financial dependence and ultimately decrease my dependence on my W-2, because I had experienced layoffs multiple times and I didn't want to be essentially a slave to corporate America anymore. So the second year, or the second stint that I did in corporate America, most recently, it was with American Express. And about halfway through there, I worked very, very heavily on cleaning up our financial house because the first time I got laid off, it was very, very scary experience. I did get a severance, but it was very nerve-wracking. Every day that passed, I was getting closer and closer to not having any more severance. And I didn't want to put myself in that situation again. So my wife and I, we did Financial Peace with Dave Ramsey. A lot of people have strong opinions about that, both good and bad. I'm on the good side. I'm very, very grateful for Dave Ramsey and all the things that he taught us. And I think it's a really great program to help people get out of debt. I don't think it's a great way to accumulate wealth. And I think you can graduate onto a different strategy. But for us and our household, we were very fortunate to run through the baby steps. And it was really due in part, I have a shovel here. One of the analogies that Dave uses is your ability to get out of debt essentially is strongly dependent upon how big your income shovel is. And I was very fortunate that I had a big income shovel for a lot of years. So that allowed me not only to get out of debt, but then also accumulate dollars to invest in real estate. Okay. So after we got our financial house in order, I kind of started, and probably in conjunction with that, started the education process. I mentioned that I was in sales, so I spent a ton of time driving from client to client. We call it windshield time in that space. I had a lot of windshield time driving all over New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and ultimately Arizona. So I learned a ton from books and podcasts primarily. You hear people talk about Podcast University. Now, what I'll share is I probably spent too much time in this space. And I certainly had the analysis paralysis, and I spent way too much time in this space because ultimately my first real estate investment other than my primary home was just a turnkey rental, which anybody with very, very little experience could jump into the turnkey rental space. So my advice here is education is certainly important and certainly something you need to do, but be careful not to get stuck in that space because ultimately real estate is not that complicated. You can jump into the space and start taking action pretty quickly. And hopefully you don't get stuck in the same space I did. And when I look at this, I probably stayed in this space for about 2 years too long. And I missed out on huge opportunity by doing that. And after you've heard one podcast about somebody buying single families and moving to multifamily and moving into syndication, like it's the same story over and over and over and over and over again. Once the light comes on, you don't necessarily have to hear that message 100 times. Okay. So as I mentioned, my first investment strategy was the turnkey process. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details on this, but ultimately I ended up buying a couple of houses in Kansas City. They were supposed to be turnkey, they were supposed to be passive, and they were anything but. These were two cash cows that we ended up pouring so much money into these. I think, by definition, a turnkey rental is supposed to be you buy it, they put a renter in it and a property manager, and you just start getting mailbox money. That was not my experience. In month 2, I ended up having like an $8,000 roof repair. The month after that, we had about a $1,500 or $2,000 plumbing issue. And it continued from there through on that. And what I learned from that is I picked the wrong operator and I didn't do the due diligence that I should have on the front end. But what it did is it got me off the couch and it got me out of the education piece. And fortunately, because real estate is such a forgiving investment style and strategy, we still ended up making money on those houses when we sold them last year. Not a lot of money, but we did make some money on those. Now, I will share that had I not taken the leap on those first 2, I would have never jumped into my next strategy, which was the BRRRR strategy. Turnkey seemed easy, but very quickly we figured out I wanted to be more involved with the renovation process, with the tenant selection, with the management of the asset, and the BRRRR strategy allowed us to do that. So a lot of learnings here, very difficult to do during COVID, I will share that, but it is a very good way to create some capital. And you can see one of the assets we bought here. This one we bought in Atlanta. We shifted over to Atlanta based on some research that we did. We bought this beauty for $50,000. When my realtor walked in there to kind of do that virtual walkthrough with us, there was a guy washing clothes in the sink, and this was not a rented unit. This was a vacant unit. So we had squatters in it. I could probably talk for an hour about the challenges with this first Burr one, but I won't bore you with those details. But I will share with you on the next slide here. Ultimately, we turned this into a beautiful asset. We had a really nice family that was living there. We really created some beautiful homes for our tenants. And I was really proud to be able to do that because, I think there's something to be said for creating housing that's safe, clean, comfortable, and something that those tenants could be proud to live in. And I think that's what we did a handful of times. So now I mentioned we were doing this during COVID, and we ultimately got to the point where we didn't, ultimately we couldn't find any more houses where we could make the numbers work anymore. And we decided that we wanted to scale faster, and this strategy was not allowing us to do that. And again, it was anything but passive. I was spending quite a bit of time managing these construction projects. And then after we got them rented, inevitably we were not really, maybe $100 a month in cash flow, but barely at best. So we were putting a lot of time and energy and effort into it, which was pulling me away from my W-2 job and ultimately costing me money. So I decided to go down the passive investing route. Now, I do want to show here, the Burr strategy, I think, is a fantastic strategy. And ultimately, that's what we're doing today with apartments, is this Burr strategy, just on a much larger scale. But you can see in this example, we bought this asset for 50 grand. We put another 50 into it and we sold it for 205 just a couple of years later. So we did this multiple times, and we created hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity in 2 or 3 years time. So it's a great strategy. It's not passive. You get taxed like crazy from the income on this. And it wasn't something that I felt that I could scale. So let's see here. I see some questions. I don't know if there are any questions up to this point, guys, or actually I see, maybe you can read through Steve's comment there and let me know if there's any questions there. But okay, so Burr investing, quickly decide that we need to move on to something else. So from there, I started hearing about this passive investing thing that you hear people talk about. And, it was kind of that unicorn I was chasing with Turnkey and with Burr. It never truly found it. And in listening to all of these podcasts, I started to hear more and more about the syndication model. And for those of you guys that are listening, I'm sure you know what that is, but it's ultimately an operator partnering with passive investors to bring the capital, and then everybody shares in the upside. So I started my very first passive investment was with a group called Open Door Capital, Brandon Turner. A lot of you guys probably recognize him there. I invested with him because he was a big brand and I liked the guy. I listened to his podcast for years and I felt like I knew him. I felt like I knew his family. So I threw some money from my old 401k with my prior employer into an Open Door Capital mobile home park fund. And that process was really smooth. I really enjoyed it. It went well. I started getting distributions. So I then invested with a group called Ashcroft Capital, which was a multifamily fund through another guy that I was listening to his podcast because I felt like I knew him. And then ultimately I found Rise 48 here in Phoenix, who is local. And I got all excited at that point and went all in. And I, as I mentioned before, I'm in 24 deals now, and I'm across 12 different operators. And I'm sorry, 12 different operators, 6 or 8 different asset classes. So I've got diversification across asset classes, markets, geographies, deals, business plans, like true diversification in the passive investing space. And these are not $100, $200, $500,000 investments, but they're little. Ultimately, I always invest. I ask for half of the minimum generally on my first investment with somebody. And then if things go well, then I'll invest more from there. So really, it's like, I think back to, oh goodness, what was the Vegas vacation, where they had like literally buckets of cash in cans in their backyard. Like that's kind of how I look at all of these different passive investments. And in the center here, you'll see there's 3, Rise 48, Lone Star, and Techvestor. These ultimately became partners that I had invested in that I ended up partnering with to bring capital to their deals since that point. So all is going well. I've been in the space for a number of years. I'm getting ready to sell all my single families, and layoff number 2 happens once again. And I will share with you that it was a very different experience this time, because not only did I have passive income coming in, so a large portion of my monthly expenses were covered at this point without having to do any work at all. I also had these 5 houses that I was getting ready to sell, or 6, I guess. And that created a huge capital influx as well when I sold those. And what it did is it gave me options where I didn't have to run out and take another corporate job right away. And I can tell you the mindset that it gave me was, for the first time really in my life, I was willing to go out there and chase my passion versus chasing a job to make dollars, to make sure that we could pay the mortgage and do all of these things. So a combination of the real estate investments with getting the financial house in order really gave me more options than most of my peers. Like most of the 400 people that got laid off alongside me, they were out there running around trying to find another job, because they had to have another job. I didn't have to have another job, which was just the greatest gift in the world. So I ended up forming Impact Equity. I launched my capital raising business, became the co-host of a podcast, kind of followed the Hunter Thompson Raise Masters strategy to becoming a capital raiser. And it's been a crazy ride, certainly for the last 15 months or so. So this is kind of the trajectory of the business, with some of the kind of the big milestones that occurred over the last 15 months or so. You can see it's a fairly straight line. Certainly it's slowed down a little bit in the recent months. But I launched my first deal in June of last year. I'll share this here, but we could probably do a whole strategy session around this, but I launched my business by messaging people on LinkedIn, and I hired a guy from Fiverr, which is the same thing as Upwork. I paid the guy $40 to message all of my LinkedIn connections, and I raised $830,000 in about 3 weeks. So it just simply was a message that said, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but I recently left American Express, and I've started a real estate investment firm. Here's my Calendly if you'd like to connect. So that was all of it. A whopping $40 was spent to launch the business, and I raised 830 grand. It was amazing. Excuse me. So from there, I joined the podcast. I launched a second deal. I ended up bringing on a second partner, hired a podcast production company, hired some virtual assistants, and I've raised $6 million in, well, close to $8 million if you consider the dollars that I've brought from partners into deals as well. Okay. So from there, I wanted to talk about some of the learnings, and then I'll jump into kind of that 5-step process. Excuse me. All right, so I'm not going to get into all of these, but I will just share that the main mindset shift that I had was investing in my business versus spending or creating an expense for the business or myself. And when I was, let's see here, January of last year, I joined some group. I think it was $500, and it was a mindset coaching group. That was the first time in my entire career, other than my college education, where I ever paid for dollars to get trained on something outside of corporate paying it for me. Because I always had this idea that if I spent money on myself, it was an expense and it was taking from potential retirement or whatever that was. So by joining this mindset group and ultimately getting paired up with a one-on-one coach and then joining a mastermind at a very high level, this shift started to occur where I started looking at every dollar I spent on professional and personal development was an investment versus an expense. And that gave me the ability to really kind of grow the business as I have in the last, 15 months or so. And ultimately, in the last year, I've probably spent $30,000 on my own personal development through coaching and mentorship and masterminds. And I probably spent another 30 grand on the business as well. And if it wasn't for that, I would have never raised the money that I raised. And now, granted, at the end of last year, I was looking at this thinking, man, at the time I had spent about 50 grand and I only made about $20,000 in acquisition fees. That was a pretty scary moment. I had told myself I'm going to give this thing till the end of the year. But then when I started looking at the bigger picture, by raising, $6 million, you essentially end up making about 10% of the money that you raise between your acquisition fees and the promote on the back end. I had actually created about $500,000 in future income that I will experience once these deals go full cycle. So that mindset shift from expense to investment, I would say, is paid off. And ultimately, the goal at this point is to get to $1 million a month in raises, then push it to 2 to 3 to 5 million a month, and the numbers just go from there. So there's a bunch of other learnings along the way, but I think it's critically important if you're in the space to invest in mindset and then pay to get around the people that are doing what you want to do and just do what they've done. All right, so next, I'm going to share this 5-step process to raising capital, and I will share. This is very, very elementary, but it's simple. I would say it's not easy, but I would say that every single person on this call could do exactly this 5-step process and raise probably $1 million within a few months, I suspect, just from the network that you already know. So one of the biggest things, and I think probably the biggest strengths that I bring to the table, is that I have my journey in real estate investing, both from an active and a passive standpoint. So I can tell people that I've done what I'm asking these people to do, and I've done it many times. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in this. I've sat across from the lady at the bank when I'm wiring my money, and she's tried to convince me not to do it because some little old lady lost money on a wire transfer one time. All of those issues. So I think if you're in this space, it's important to invest in some deals yourself, just so you have credibility. There's nothing less credible than somebody saying, hey, come do this. I've never done it myself because it doesn't work for me, but I think it will work for you. So a lot of people think you've got to have $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 to do this, but you don't. You can do this for as little as $3,000 to $5,000. I think you can even do it for $1,000 with some of the operators that are out there. But literally, if you have $3,000 to $5,000, you can invest in some of these deals, and then you get your own experience. You can get your own passion about this, and you build credibility with those that you're talking to. So I think after you've done that and you have some experience, it's literally as simple as taking one of those deals that you invested in, cut that 40 to 50 page deck down to 5 to 7 pages, and of course, take their branding off of it, and then start sharing that with your network and say, very simply, if I find a deal like this, is this something that you would be willing to invest in? And it literally is that simple. You'll find that some people are going to say no, they're not interested. Some people are going to be interested, never will. And then some people get really excited about it because they believe in you and they believe in what you're doing and believe that you would not put a deal in front of them unless you felt confident in what it would be. And, I find a lot of people, they end up chasing the people that say no, but there's so many more opportunities out there to chase people that'll say yes. And, Jim Rohn says, what does he say exactly? Basically, the naysayers, there's always going to, non-believers, he says, there's always going to be non-believers. And the reason they're non-believers is they're non-believers, and it doesn't really matter. So you can sit there and try to convince the non-believers, or you can move on to somebody that might be open to it. So I'm confident everybody on this call probably has 15 or 20 people that are believers. that would consider partnering with you on this. And, you know, once you get to that point where you've got $500,000 to $700,000 in soft commits from people, then that becomes your asset that you can take to operators that you already know and say that you've got the dollars there. And a lot of people used to say, like, you know, find the deal and the money will come. And I will share that is absolutely not the case anymore. Now you've got to find the money, and then the deal will present itself. And if you can go to an operator and say with some confidence that you can bring $500,000 to a deal, well, I can tell you, I can introduce you to 5 people today that would gladly take that 500,000 and either do a fund-to-fund model or a co-GP model with you to give you an opportunity to raise for them. So that's really it. It's simple. It's certainly not easy, but as I've said multiple times here, I think anybody that wants to do this can do this. The biggest thing is just getting off the sidelines and taking action. And you know, I'm a big ready, fire, aim guy. Like, build the parachute, jump out of the plane and build the parachute on the way down. Like, you only have to know what the next step is. You don't have to know what the 10th step is. So my advice is take the action. The 5-step process is right here, and I think you can all do it. So that's it. That's all the material I created. Certainly, if you want to connect with me or get on my newsletter or have any interest in investing in deals, there's ways to connect with me here. But that's what I had, and as promised, I did have a slide here that shows all of my tools. Alicia, you can share the deck with everybody if you want to see it, but I put literally everything that I have used up to this point. But that's it. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know that Daryl has his hand raised. Rob did ask a question right before that. He wanted to know if you thought a Delaware LLC is required to set up a capital raising company.
So I have no Delaware LLC, so I would say no. I would also say you don't need to do Wyoming. You can. I would talk to your CPA or your tax advisor to find out what they suggest. But I think I have one Wyoming LLC, and I regret doing it. And I've got a whole bunch of Arizona ones.
Why do you regret doing it?
It's another tax return. It's
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm still fairly new to this, so I don't see the benefit on the back end to it just yet. A lot of the times, the benefit, to my understanding, is the anonymity you can get from that process. But I just use like a post box, so I'm not sharing my personal information with the crowd. And I've got multiple layers as well, like Impact Equity is a holding company. My funds are a separate LLC. I actually have an S Corp organization, which is separate from that, which is the management company. But no, I've not done any Delaware LLCs.
Right. It's the structure. You can also use some registered agents. Daryl, go for it.
I just wanted to know, does Randy offer any kind of coaching or mentorship?
So great question, Daryl. Thank you for that. I am in the process of creating one at this point. I don't think it'll be a big ticket item. I think it'll probably be a little more nuts and bolts, like, this is what I've done, this is what you can do, maybe some one-on-one coaching with that. But I'm still fairly new into this space. I would say I am a sales professional and a sales expert. I have some expertise in passive investing, but the more I dig into this, I'm learning more and more that there are people doing much, much bigger and more than I am, that I need to be humble and listen to what they're doing. Certainly I'm open to helping other people out.
Well, Randy, I'm going to send you my email, and please take it down, because when you get your program up and running, I would like to talk to you.
Awesome.
Because I'm always wanting to learn different things, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic.
Got
Awesome.
another question.
Yeah.
Go for it, Rob.
Hey, Randy. So, you know, I've been raising capital for a couple months, and I'm warming up this network of investors and contacts from a corporate job that I left, you know, last year. And what do you have any kind of vetting process when you look at a deal, right? You're going to bring investors to this deal. Do you do a full underwrite, or you just go off the track record of the sponsor? Because for me, that first deal that I bring investors to, I need to make darn sure that this operator won't lose all the money of the investors, because if the deal does go sideways, they're going to be coming to me and saying, hey, what happened? So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that aspect.
Yeah, so I mean, due diligence is huge. And yes, you're absolutely right. The second you have a deal go south, essentially you're done in this space, and people are going to come knocking on your door. And yes, you have protections with your PPM, and varying levels of protections, I would say, whether it's non-accredited or accredited. So yes, you want to become very good at doing due diligence. I don't know that there's any magic bullet here. I will tell you that I look for folks with track record. There's a lot of folks that say they want to see 10, 15, 20-year track record. I have not been one of those guys. I believe that track record starts even before operators get into this space. So generally, top performers will have been top performers in other roles or capacities as well. But absolutely, I will only work with people that have multiple exits, that have fully integrated property management, fully integrated construction management. I'm not investing or raising capital for a couple of buddies that met at a conference and decided to become syndicators. I think they can do very well, and I don't have anything against them. I'm just not going to risk my dollars or my investor dollars, because there's so many good, big operators out there that are doing institutional quality investment offerings. So yes. Now I will share that I've recently started leveraging third-party underwriters to do kind of a second check, because my strength is not the underwriting piece. So I'm hiring expertise in those areas. And I think, for a few $100s, it certainly makes sense to leverage tools like that for areas where you might have some weaknesses.
Thank you. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you put your information back on the screen, please?
Yeah. Sorry, I lost the pictures here. So let me see if I can't find it.
And so, Steve, did you have any additional questions?
I did, yeah. I'm curious. So I'm doing capital raising with my note investing company.
Okay.
And what I keep running into is, all these people are used to having like, hey, here's the deal locked up already. And we're doing this. Well, that's not how that capital raising works in the note space necessarily.
Yep.
You normally we get the money and then we go quickly find the deals, because we have, if you have 30 days to do your due diligence on a note, that's kind of lengthy.
Yep.
So what kind of advice might you have about raising capital when I don't have a hard deal really to present?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're selling track record at that point, right?
Rich, I don't have a lot of track record. I've raised a whopping $5,000. That's why it's 1.2.
So does your operator have, or are you a one-man show, or?
We're a 3-man show right now.
Okay.
And it's been, as the group of us together so far has only really done just that little bit. One of my other partners has done some raising on his own prior.
Have you invested in this space yourself?
Yes.
Like a significant amount?
30,000 or so.
And have you created any returns out of it?
Not yet, because these are all second non-performing notes. At least with the chunk I've done.
Yeah, so you might not like my opinion on this. Like, should you be raising capital from other people that you don't have a proven track record on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. No, I think, because your story is, I've invested 30 grand and I don't have results yet, but I think you should too.
Yes.
That's a tough sell. Can you point to other people that are doing this successfully and creating significant income using the exact same strategy you're using?
Yes. Yeah, we've
Okay.
got my business partner who had his notes prior, so he's done that. And then
Okay.
we've got as you kind of said, jump into some of these other deals that people have done, and we've got that as well that weren't our deals, but we were part of.
Okay. And so that is, you can borrow other people's experience to share and certainly point to that. But I would just encourage you to be fully transparent with your investors, with your experience and your results as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Daryl?
Well, I was going to ask Randy, do you have a Calendly link where one could make an appointment with you?
Yeah. If let me put that in, and I
I
apologize.
did
I've got-
request you. I did request to connect with you on LinkedIn, but I don't know if you accepted my request yet.
Did you just do it just now?
No, I did it. I did I think it was a couple of days ago.
Okay. Well, I'll put, I think I'm fully caught up on those right now, but I will, let's see here. I'm having a hard time finding the link, but yes. So on my website, there's a Calendly link. If you want to shoot me an email, I will certainly send it to you. Send me a message in LinkedIn. Absolutely. I will absolutely send it to you. I'm having a hard time finding, while I'm sharing my screen, I can't find the chat button. I apologize, guys. Zoom.
Oh, so we are connected. Great.
Perfect. Yeah, just send me a message and I'll reply right away.
Awesome. So does anyone else have any questions? I know that Randy mentioned a lot focused around capital raising, his experience. Many of you are moving from single family investments to commercial multifamily investments. Do you have any outstanding questions that he can answer before he departs?
I've got another question for Randy.
Karen?
So Randy, before I left, I worked for UPS, which is corporate America. So I know
Yep.
what you're going through. I downloaded the contents of my work phone. So I've got 600 phone numbers of
Sure.
people that I was drinking beer with them 15 years ago. Now they're division managers or regional vice presidents. And so
Love it. Yeah.
any tips? Because I reached out to about 60 of them, and I'm trying to. If you were in that situation, what kind of text would you send? Would it be like, "Hey, how's it been? I want to catch up," or "Hey, I'm into passive investment. Are you interested in opportunity?" What would be your suggestion? Because I don't want to send emails to their UPS email address, obviously. So
there's a tool called Easy Texting that you could do a mass text that would say, "Hi, insert name." Exactly what I said in LinkedIn. Not sure if you're aware or not, but I recently left American Express and I've started a real estate investment firm. Here's a link to schedule some time if you'd like to connect and catch up. Like, it's literally that easy. I booked my calendar for 2 weeks back to back every half hour. And I had about 3,000 LinkedIn connections that were past colleagues, clients, and prospects of mine. So I think the same strategy would work.
and any adverse reactions to that? If you did a mass blast, were some people like, any blowback or no? Was it all positive?
So no, it wasn't all positive. I will share though that I think if you've identified your messaging correctly, you will attract your avatar that you're trying to reach, and you will repel the avatar that you do not want to work with. So if somebody says, "John, stop messaging me," you say, "Thank you very much," and you know not to pursue him anymore. And that's not somebody you want to pursue. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You're not going to waste any more time with him. So yeah, I would say I had somebody the other day that reached out on LinkedIn because I hired a social media manager, and she posts like every single day. She posts to all these groups that I'm a part of. And one of the groups that I'm a part of is the American Express network of people that have been laid off. right? So somebody reached out to me and said, hey, Randy, I don't think it's appropriate that you're marketing to this channel to people that just got laid off. And I said, oh my goodness, I apologize. My virtual assistant is doing that. And I just removed myself from the portal. If they're upset about it, I'm sorry. But I'm not going to be too upset about it myself.
Fantastic. Yeah, and if somebody, if I don't talk to someone, if it's been 9 years since I talked to them and I reach out and they turn me down and I go another 9 years without speaking to them, it's like, what's the
Exactly.
difference? I didn't lose anything anyway. So
Exactly. And I
fantastic.
think what'll happen, and what was really, really exciting to me is that I had built a very good brand at American Express and Waste Management. And, you know, these are big companies, so we talk a lot about branding, even as an individual. But I had built such a strong brand that a lot of people responded to that as if it was a one-on-one text or as if it was a one-on-one LinkedIn. And like I said, I connected with, well, I've got 90 investors so far, and 40 of those are from American Express. So yeah, I think you'll be surprised. And that's a fantastic avatar that who do you know in the space that's focusing on you know, transportation and logistics companies as their avatar? Like, that's an ideal avatar because nobody's focusing on that. So
Yeah,
nobody that I know of anyways. Yeah.
None of them know about syndication at all, like at all.
None
And
of them do.
in my social media feeds, it's like, wow, that's all I see, but that's not reality. It's the algorithm. So
Exactly.
thank you for your advice.
Exactly. Yeah. And I will tell you that the people that do invest with me from the places where I worked before, like, they'll just call me and say, Randy, I've got 100 grand. Where should I put it? Like, that's the conversation. Like, we're not talking about IRRs or cap rates or any of that type of stuff. It's like, Randy, I trust you. Where would you put this? Very different than cold calling somebody. So.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Randy, out of the experience that you have, in 60 seconds or less, what is something that you can share with someone who may be challenged in capital raising? They have their systems together, they have a list together. They may not have a property yet because they're trying to test the market and see if someone would invest. What would you say to them to encourage them to get out there and just do it, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to share other than just do it, honestly.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, you've just got to get some messaging out there and you've got to ask the question. Everybody thinks they're a capital raiser until they ask the question. Ask the question. You might not be a capital raiser, and that's okay. There's all kinds of other ways to make money in real estate as well. But I suspect if you're a high quality person with integrity that has been interacting with people that have the ability to invest, then you're going to do very well if you just ask the question. Now, and that's why I made the comment of, like, I think it's very, very difficult for somebody to come into this space and be a capital raiser if they don't have their own personal track record and they haven't built credibility and integrity in other places. Or if they have built that, but they've built that in an ocean of people that can't invest, right? So if you're the most high integrity, hardworking, amazing freshman in college in the world, you're probably not hanging out with people that will be able to invest in this space. Like, and I always say, like, when you go fishing, you need to go where the fish are. And if you're fishing in holes where there's no fish, you're never going to catch any. So I see a lot of people doing that too, where they hang out in syndication meetups thinking that they're going to raise capital. Everybody at syndication meetups is trying to raise capital. That's a difficult place to raise capital. And if everybody on your investor list is also raising capital, that's going to be pretty difficult as well. So find your avatar, which is a previous version of you, and go out there and hang out where those people hang out.
I love it. Check your fishing holes, everyone. If
There it
it's a
is.
hole, go to the river. If it's the river, go to the lake. If it's a lake,
There it is.
go to the ocean.
Go to the ocean. I love it.
Awesome. I think JR had his hand raised and then it went away. JR, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, it's more of like a comment, and just to kind of piggyback on what Randy was saying. Yesterday, I was actually doing a kind of like an educational piece like this to, doing more of an attraction marketing, right? And how you can benefit from lead generation versus cold calling. And the one thing, and kind of like what Randy is saying, is, build your brand. But and going back to kind of what Steve is saying as well, is that, well, I don't have any track record. So what can you do to raise capital, and the mindset of going from there? So what Randy is saying about brand is, yes, I do believe in branding yourself a little bit different, and not going to the same meetups where broke people are going. So if you're fundraising, don't go to a fundraising meetup, because everybody there is looking for money. So that's why I never go to real estate meetup to go do my fundraising. So, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to make a comment, because I know that you guys are putting out a lot of good, golden nuggets out there, and just to kind of reiterate for some people who may or may not know how to kind of adjust. But yeah, that's just what I have to say.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Randy. I know that you have another appointment, so I want to be respectful of your time. I'm not sure how much longer you have, but if you have to go.
Yep, I got to get running for the almighty investor call. Unfortunately, I guess. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. And certainly, if anybody wants to connect, reach out on LinkedIn is the easiest way. And if we need to connect one-on-one, we can do that too. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on the Zoom. It was an honor.
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming, Randy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to what JR said. JR, at the very beginning of your statement, can you repeat that if you recall what it was? There was something.
No, I'm sorry. Your brand? Is that what I said? I know I talked about brand.
That's what you said. You said, how does someone raise capital if they're newer to this?
Right.
And I'll share a little bit about how I got started initially in the industry. We worked as a team, right? And so when you have a team, when you collaborate, when you do those things to join in with others, to close deals, to make things happen, you can leverage their experience, which is why it's important to link up with someone that's experienced. Many people get into this industry because they think it's a get rich type of thing. And it's not. Real estate is developed on time. It has to be a good opportunity. It has to be, you have to have all your ducks in a row. So in order to do that, you want to link up with someone experienced. If that person that's experienced will allow you to be a butterfly on a wall to some of their corporate meetings or their capital raise calls, then do that so that you can get the experience. If they're saying, okay, I'll partner with you on a deal that you found, and you're thinking that you're going to get 75% of the deal and they'll get 25%, and they come back to you and say they want 90% of the deal and you're going to get 10% because they're putting up their liquidity and net worth, and you want more, sometimes you're going to have to take that 10% so that you can get that deal closed and listed on your PFS as a property that you own. And then the next opportunity, maybe you can earn more. So Those are some of the things that you can do. Those are some of the things that you can think about along your journey. So, as we are closing out, we have just a few more minutes. Does anyone else have questions, ads? Are you capital raising? What do you have? What you got?
I just want to make a comment about, so I was at a local RIA meetup the other night, and as I was sitting there, I'm like, man, none of these, I feel like I can add value to everybody, but what value am I going to get out of this? And I was, towards the end, I ran into an older gentleman, and he came up to me and he said, wow, I heard you're into syndication. And he asked me a ton of questions, and then I come to find out that this guy, he's like, well, I'm not a venture capital donor, but I'm an angel investor, meaning this guy's got a ton of capital. This was music to my ears. And I thought, well, these are just a bunch of single family home investors. No one's going to be interested. And I would have skipped that meeting. I would have missed this opportunity to have a investment with a lot of capital that wants to know about syndication. And he thinks I'm the guy. So I'm going to meet up with him and tell him how it works and see if he'd like to invest in a deal that I'm looking for and how much, and get a timeline and kind of do that. So I would say, try to add value in every situation you go to. But just because the group may not look like there's anyone there that is doing what you're doing, you might be surprised. So I just wanted to add that.
Rob, that's excellent. That's excellent. Do you have a sample deal package?
I do. You know what?
Good.
I tried to raise capital on a deal in Savannah, Georgia, but I was so new to capital raising. All I was really doing is warming investors up. I couldn't get anyone to donate to that one. But so I did go into the LP side on that. So on Monday, I'll have another 176 doors on my resume, which for me is huge as far as track record and confidence. So,
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Take your take one of them deals that you're on and use that as a sample deal package. And when you talk to that other angel investor, you could give him an idea of what you invest in, the things that you look for and stuff like that. And you may want to also make a little resume for yourself. So if he asks questions, because once you get with him, he may start asking other questions.
Mhm.
But take a little resume with you that that you could put together and show him, these are the deals I'm in. This is what I'm investing. This is, and so forth and so forth. And yeah, you may be surprised. Where are you located?
Rockford.
Rockford. Okay.
Yeah, I will
Excellent.
do that. Thank you for the advice.
Awesome. Anyone else have questions? Where are you all at in your journey? You can either unmute.
Oh, I have a question.
Yep.
Well, I don't have a question. Yes, I do. I have a question. I submitted an LOI on 178 units. It's an A-class property. I need AMD capital, so I would like to know who would be interested in putting up AMD money. I need approximately 250,000 for AMD. Now, this is standby. Like I said, the LOI has been submitted. I'm just waiting to hear back. If thumbs up and we start negotiating, go up under contract, then I will need the AMD. I put my email in the chat. So if anyone would like to meet up with me in reference to that opportunity, please reach out to me. Please reach out to me.
When you say
Thank
AMD, what does that stand for?
Earnest money deposit.
Oh, EMD.
EMD. Yeah.
Awesome. Daryl, do you have anything else?
If you're in the Houston area and if you know how to install folding closet doors, reach out to me. I could use your help. But that's what I'm gonna be doing right after this call. I'm going to install some bifold doors.
They have YouTube.
I went there, believe me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us this week for our capital raise strategy session. I'm Alicia Milton, and you just heard from Daryl Murphy Sr. We're here to help you along your journey, and we are also here to share with you how we need some help with our capital raise that we are doing. As you all know, I still have the 99 slab Crosby Lakeside RV Resort that we are raising capital for. Looking for some partners. Returns look really good. If you are investing in RV resorts, RV parks, mobile parks, please reach out to me because I'd like to know who you are and share some other or additional opportunities. All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you for joining GOB Network. Make sure you reach out to our website and also visit our Facebook page. Like, share, follow, and tap on that bell.